Hello, welcome. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, and I want to share the next part of my dream analysis with the tarot episode, specifically with the swords and the element of air. I started this series the later part of last year, I think around fall, the early part of winter. And I decided to create a series of doing dream analysis and self-healing through the tarot, but breaking it down specifically to the elements and the suit influence that we have within the tarot. And so we have 4 elements, and then our 5th element being spirit. Our 4 elements are fire, water, air, and earth, and then encompassing all of that is spirit. And we're made up of all of these elements. And we are the vessel that holds these different sources of energy. And we also incorporate it into our psyche, and we take it from our conscious realm into our deeper inner recesses of our inner self. And that's where things start manifesting, and we start working through issues and taking a perspective of something that we had experienced in the conscious realm in reality, and turning it into something that's just at times very out of the ordinary, sometimes frightening, sometimes enlightening. And I feel these influences that we see in our everyday life, and when we internalize it and take it in and process it at a deep psychological level, it manifests into our dreams. So I thought to explore elementally the influence that air, fire, water, and earth aspects have in our dreams, and how we can resolve this through the tarot. I shouldn't say resolve, but sort of get some direction as to why the dreams are working the way that they are, how they're building, how they're being pieced together. I need to put a disclaimer, very, very important. Working with the tarot is not going to be the answer to mental issues that are going on that are more physiological oriented. Depression, severe depression, psychosis, dementia, all these different mental illnesses, issues, conflicts. Well, the tarot is a guide, but when it comes to those issues, you need to see someone professional. Seek medical help. Because the tarot, I feel, will more or less be a reflection of what's going on within ourselves. That's basically how the tarot works. But when it comes to healing issues of that nature, depression, anything suicidal, please go beyond the tarot. Reach out for help. Because the tarot will probably just reflect what's going on at that time, and the cards may not be of the most accurate direction to help you. It may actually blur the situation that you're in and further confuse, further incite the issue, and that's something that is not good. So if there is something that's reoccurring, if you have nightmares, night terrors, anything that just is of that issue and it's physiologically starting to affect you, please seek help, okay? Don't pick up the phone and call your psychic, astrologer, or whatnot. It needs more help, okay? So here, with the focus on swords. I've already done 3 other episodes where we talked about earth influences, fire, and water. But here, with the influence of air and the tool of the swords, blades, depending on what tarot deck you're working with. Swords deals with cutting through issues, getting right to the core, depending on how you cut. How you go right to the center and really find what is going on. You may not get the answers immediately, but at least maybe you can get some glimpse of light. You use the tool of the sword to cut through and open up and create some space so you could see what's actually going on deep down. Swords deals with the mind, how one thinks, how one perceives things, how one communicates. It could be creatively, verbally. Body actions is a form of communication, but primarily swords is dealing with the mind. And we know the mind is very powerful, and we can use this mind to destroy, but we can also use this mind to create and to seek and to find more answers. The reputation of the swords tends to be more on the negative side. That a lot of the imagery that we see represented in the swords is very daunting. But let's change that perspective around and see the swords more as revealing. We're handed this tool, or the tool has been placed to us, depending on how it's used and suits, to really pay attention to what's going on, and how to actually merge the heart, the emotions, with the thought, the mind, the conscious, which is a challenge because the mind is always seeing things linearly, or see things for what it is. We see a situation and we make an assessment of it, we make a mental judgment of it right off the cuff without really exploring more of the background of what's going on. And from there, you make your own choice. It's like the media. The media just puts the news out, they have their sources, and that's what you see. We're not getting the full story, there's more to it. Those are just, the media news is like a general read. If you want to know more about what's going on, you have to do research, you have to look into it, you have to explore more and see what information is being provided. So with that being said, the decks that I've been working with this series have been decks that curiously have the name Dreams in it, but I feel energy-wise, it's suitable for what I want to bring across when it comes to dream analysis and self-healing through the tarot. The two decks that I'm working with are the Dreamkeepers Tarot by Liz Huston. All these two decks I have listed in the description, so you can go and visit their sites and visit their site, and you can see the decks and get a little bit more information about the creator and what went into the deck. So I have the Dreamkeepers Tarot by Liz Huston. The other deck I have is The Dreams of Gaia by Ravynne Phelan. Both of these decks are ethereal and cosmic in their own way. Cosmic is more of the dreams of Gaia, and ethereal and surreal is with the Dreamkeepers Tarot. That's what I feel when I look at these images and when I do readings with these particular decks. And especially with the Dreamkeepers Tarot, that deck, because of its subconscious layers and surrealistic imagery, I tend to work with that deck when it deals with Dreamwork. So I feel the Dreamkeepers Tarot is an appropriate title for that deck. Dreams of Gaia, which you'll see when we work through the swords, it's more of a universal cosmic, I keep saying that word cosmic. It's a universal way of seeing things. It has very different layers of vibrational energy. It's a very unique deck for me. It's an honest deck when it comes to healing and what's really going on inside. This is a very internal, deep deck spiritually. And so that's why I want to bring the Dreams of Gaia into this, because we can merge these two realms of the subconscious, the psyche, imagery that I see here with the Dreamkeepers Tarot versus the healing aspect, the spiritual side of working through our dreams. So I talked a little bit about swords and their attributes and the tool and the element of air. Air is what we need. Air is essential. We need air for our breath and for processing information. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be a deck review because I do have two decks. I'm going to pull out some cards that just stood out for me from each of these decks and give examples when it comes to dream work and working within the conscious self. So this is all going to be intuitive. This isn't set answers or anything like this, but these are more of guidance when it comes to working with the energy and interpreting, trying to understand the dreams that we have. So with the Dreamkeepers Tarot, and another thing I will point out too is a layout. I normally don't do layouts, but this is more like a general spread that you can do when it comes to deciphering what elements in your dreams need to be kept more in balance. So with the swords, this is from the Dreamkeepers Tarot. This is, Ace of Swords. And I'm not going to give an interpretation of each of these cards because then I'm doing a tarot tutorial. But here we're starting to see the beginnings of a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing. So let's say when you're having a dream, keep in mind, people connect to their dreams in many different ways. Some have a very strong memory and connection to their dreams. They can smell, feel, taste everything that when they awaken, they feel like they had just experienced it. But with the swords, keep in mind the atmosphere of the dreams that you're in. Okay, and here we have a very clear scene, spacious. We have the individual holding the sword, getting ready to walk into a new situation, a new experience, seeing things from a different way. And the Two of Swords, how we process this information in our dream world. What challenges are we coming up against? And also feel when you're having these dreams, what does the environment feel like? Swords can sometimes be represented in a cold environment because the swords does not involve any emotions. It's not fiery energy. It's not a grounded energy. Okay, the element is air, so it's always there. But we don't see the physical action of air moving unless there is something that's being influenced by that movement of air, like seeing the branches of a tree fluctuate in the air. We don't see air, but we see that action taking place. Connect to how that environment feels. Does it feel very spacious? Does it feel like there's interaction? Is there communication that's going on? And if so, what is the communication? Is the communication very aggressive? Is it very lighthearted? Is it loving? These elements play an influence in our dreams. And here we have the Three of Swords, for example. So here it's hurt and dealing with anguish. So while in a dream, do you feel like the thoughts that you're having about a situation is becoming more effective emotionally? Is your mind being motivated more by the heart? And what is that feeling? Is that feeling of distress? And here we have an image where the head is not even placed in this image. The mind is no longer part of the situation because it's been replaced here by the swords. In the heart, there's like almost no feeling. How does that environment feel when you're in your dreams? Is it painful? Four of Swords. We're seeing a balance. We're trying to leave the thoughts and connect deeper to the issue. Look closely here. We have the individual half exposed, and the other half is in the water. Again, water deals with the subconscious. And we have the swords out there in the distance, pointing upward, showing that the thought process is there, but we're removing ourselves from that. And we have the cat for instinct. We have the bird for our messengers. Really connecting to ourselves. And I feel that's the way with dreams, that to really understand what's going on with the mind and how we think things and how we create things the way that we do, and we manifest it, internalize it in our dream state, goes to show our emotional state. So a lot of our dreams are emotionally influenced. Okay? And when you go outside, anything can trigger a dream. You can see maybe it's something you haven't seen in a while, something unusual, something out of the ordinary. You acknowledge it, you see it, but you go about your business throughout the day. And then somehow you have a dream, and that element returns. Like maybe seeing a different colored rose that you haven't seen before, and somehow that influence comes into the dream. And so we have to break down the symbology of the imagery that we see in those dreams too. But here, we're focusing more on the mind and the thought process, how we are seeing that situation in the dream, how are we analyzing it, how are we acting towards it, what choices are we making in that dream. Here we have 10 of Swords. Are the dreams coming across that they're endings? But endings that need to take place so that you can move on and continue to the next phase so that you can heal and that you can understand. I'm going to interject right in here and go on to the Dreams of Gaia deck. I mentioned about doing a spread. It's not a set spread, but if you want to get insight into your dreams and find a direction, how to heal, how to make sense of the dreams, I'd say pull out your deck, whatever deck you have, the one that really, really connects to you. A lot of people have decks and they all mean something different. But pick one deck specifically that you feel will be of guidance for you, for tapping into the psyche, maybe for Dreamwork. And you can do that based on the images, maybe the meaning of the cards in a particular deck. What you do is shuffle those cards, and just start, once you've done your shuffle, focus on the dream. Remember a lot of details, keep that in mind while you're shuffling. If you remember only parts of the dreams, that's fine. Anything that is relating to getting some understanding about your dreams, keep that in mind. When you're ready, pull the cards. You pull cards until you stop. If you have a table where half of the deck is already out on the table, that's fine, because you're following your instincts. And the cards are guiding you when to keep pulling and when to finally stop. So once you've stopped, it could be 3 cards. It could be 22 cards, 21 cards. It could be the entire deck. Look and see the elements, and also look at the story that's building. If you don't do the whole deck, more than likely you won't. But when you pull out your cards and you've stopped, look what's there. Where are we seeing more or less of these elements, more or less of these suits? Are we seeing a lot of wands? Are we seeing less swords? Are we seeing pentacles, earth influence? Are we seeing water cups? Where is this balance going? If you have a dream that's very aggressive and very fiery, you're pulling out cards, you're getting a lot of wands, and you're getting some other cards coming in. Those cards that are coming in, if it's swords or earth or whatnot, they're guiding you to let you know what you need to focus more on. Where do you need to balance that energy out? And this is a bit of work, because when people have dreams, you're normally not paying attention to, God, this is a really fire elementy dream that I'm having, or it's very airy, or swords. It's very emotional, But you'll feel it when you recall bits and pieces of the dreams, and also how you're feeling when you wake up. If you feel really exhausted, like physically exhausted, I almost want to say that could be the attributes of wands and the fiery energy. There's just a lot of movement going on in this dream, more physical. Swords, if your mind feels taxed, overworked, it could be the influence of a lot of crossed information, communication going on, a lot of talk, but it's not getting anywhere. It's exhaustive mentally, emotionally. There's a lot of tears and pain that you're feeling. But it feels like it's coming from the heart emotionally. And obviously, we have cups, and we need to find out when doing the reading, what do we need to bring more in to take care of that, elementally wise. And then of earth, if things are maybe too still, too grounded, maybe there's not a lot of activity going on, then that's where we have to look into these other elements. What can we bring in to balance that out? So when you do this reading, it's not a set spread like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can work on that if you like. But just elementally, this is what my focus is on. And related to the suits, what are we seeing more of? And how can we bring these elements, if there's more of some elements, some sorts, and less than another, how can we balance that out and to get a little bit more clarity in our situation? And you'll probably see maybe a storyline related to your dreams. If you have something that's very, like you're sitting on the moon and you're, kicking your legs and you're seeing the city down below. Analyze that. That's definitely something emotional. If you see a very strong symbolic reference that comes up in your dreams, like a certain kind of shoe or a flower, a car, an animal, a coat, bike, anything like that. Pay attention to what comes up symbolically throughout your dreams, because there always tends to be that one element or few elements. If it's an individual, keep in mind their attitude and how they are portraying themselves in your dream. And usually if we're thinking about someone else, it could be a celebrity, a friend, family. It's usually an attribute that we like to have of that person and that we feel that we're missing or that we don't have enough of. And so that's something to explore. And that's actually, I'm not going to say easy, but if you catch it and you acknowledge, it's like, wow, that person has a fun life and this is what they're doing. They're traveling and whatnot, and you're home and you can't do that. You can actually have that. You just need to manifest it in a way that will benefit you. You don't want an overabundance of this. You want to create something that will give you an enjoyment and understanding of what was lacking that you saw in this other person that was of influence to you. Okay, dreams of Gaia. So the dreams of Gaia here, as I mentioned, it's more universal, cosmic, higher knowledge, more of a spiritual deck for understanding. So we saw the subconscious side through the Dreamkeepers tarot. Very surreal imagery. These are just cards that I pulled out randomly, representing the swords that I just found to be of interest. Two of Swords. What's crossing us? What's crossing us that may not allow us to move forward? And of course, the Three of Swords. Disconnection of the mind and the heart. The Four of Swords. Going between these realms. The emotional, subconscious, intuitive side. And leaving the swords, leaving the mind behind. Let's go and start seeking within ourselves. Start looking for answers. I think I showed this one. There's our Six of Swords. Kind of hard to see, but we have an individual who is peacock and his swords coming out. 6 swords coming out from behind. Taking your thoughts with you. Here's the environment. You can change your environment, running away from your thoughts, but your thoughts will always be there with you. And they're expressions of who we are. Just beautiful energy. You have to learn how to let go. Start working with the energy of the swords. Why do we have 6 swords that are with us? They can be forms of guides, but where is your mind at that time? And that influences the dream world. And of course, with the 10 of swords. The ending of challenges, letting go. There's someone making us let go. They made the choices for us because we couldn't. And now it's time to move on and to heal. Okay, now we get to the dreams of Gaia. And these are replaced not by suits, but elements. So the swords are seen here as air. This is seen as ace of air. This deck, all the aces are representative of the energy of the dragon. I'm going to move closer, see a little bit of detail. And what's interesting here with this dragon is it's white, it's clean, it's pure. It's pure energy, clean mind, no distractions. You see here the claws holding the globe, which we could say could be universal knowledge, putting it out there, putting our new perspective, the way we see things, and knowledge that we've just attained, and applying it to something new, different shifts. And here we have the 2 of air, balancing of opposites. The dark side of the mind, the dark energy, trying to find that balance. We will always have dark and light within us. Here's our light side. And it's kind of hard to show. I'm using the pocket version of the Dreams of Gaia because it's not as reflective. But we do have scales. And so we're trying to find this balance. How can we harmonize these 2 opposing energies? The Dreams of Gaia is the healing aspect for our dreams. And 3 of air. And what do? We look for answers. We're doing research, we're trying to understand. This could be a way of journaling. Journal your dreams. You write down as much as you can remember. And then as your dreams progress, some people have the same dreams or they have a dream that's similar. If you keep track of these dreams, you'll probably start seeing a pattern. And that's where this comes in. You start analyzing and you start seeing similarities and start thinking about the actions that have been taking place in your day. You can have something that took place maybe months ago, and it's an experience that you had. It doesn't have to be a great thing, but it's something that just got stuck into your head, the deeper recesses, and you had a dream and it somehow released itself. You write that down, and that particular dream may shape shift and give answers to something that's really going on, in our inner heart that we may not have seen. It's just funny how things work. It could just take one particular image, one word, one sound, music, and it can change the way we perceive things. And again, once we perceive it, the psyche starts translating it, and it gets put into the back of our heads, and then it comes out in our dreams. And this card I pulled out recently, this is our 4 of air. And this deals with time and space, how we deal with time management, how we are best to organize what we're doing, and to be more efficient in our ways. People can have dreams where things are very stressful. They're juggling a lot of different aspects of life, and also trying to take care of themselves. And with this card, you can see the person has a clock right here, right above the heart. And we're seeing the mind processes here of these different symbols. And this looks right about at the solar plexus, which represents creativity. So it's how this energy all moves. Look at your dreams and see the pace of things. Are things happening very quickly? Is there a lot that's getting done? Are you trying to be that person that can just be as efficient as possible at work, at home, just trying to get everything done? You're planning, you're rationalizing things. That could be an aspect of the self who feels like they're not doing as much as they could. Here's another card that I enjoyed from this deck. This is a non-system deck, so it doesn't follow the Rider-Waite-Smith traditional interpretations. So when Ravynne created the Dreams of Gaia, there's the elemental influence that we see, but this is part of the court cards, the equivalent to the court cards in the Rider-Waite-Smith. And we see this image taken to a higher realm. This would normally be the Queen of Swords. And so we have the strong energy. We have the owl right there in the foreground. How we use our intellect wisely and directly. We have the sword right here. The energy moving right above the mind, or at the point of the crown. How we can direct the information that we have, the knowledge, to get answers, to really further look into what's going on within ourselves. This is a card not to be feared of. This is a card of waking up the mind and really being perceptive of what's going on around us. And not to be deceived. Not to be deceived by what we see. I'm going to pull some other cards here from the Dreams of Gaia. This is 5 of air. also known as Five of Swords. So we have the individual that has the blindfold. It's holding its own facade. And just closing their mind, removing the mask, and really perceiving what's going on. And look at the energy here. It's very light, it's very airy. The mind is in process. It is the psyche. And the dragonfly. The dragonfly represents the lightness of the mind. With this card, the Five of Air, I feel very strongly this is of letting go. Being non-judgmental. And just perceiving things as it is. Look at your dreams and just see if there are those aspects of where you're able to view a situation from a place of unbiased and accepting it for what it is, not leaning one way or the other. That's how you create your balance. You're accepting it for what it is. And in turn, you learn about an aspect of yourself. Maybe this is something that you already do have, or maybe you don't have. And when looking into those situations in your dreams, find that energy. Are you leaning more on one side versus the other? Sometimes it's good to have a bias. It's sometimes good to have those limitations. Those limitations are good for protective purposes, but you don't want to be closed-minded. You want to be open to things so that you can get a wider perspective of the situation. It's another card that I enjoy. 10 of Air. Okay, so 10 is after going through all the challenges of the mind and in your dreams, you have this lightness of being. There are people who have dreams where they're just so ethereal and everything is free and open and light. It relieves any pressure, any responsibility. Things have come full circle. You have peace of mind, if you will, with this card. And then we have the eye up above. The all-seeing eye, the one perspective that you have. Not varied perspectives, not many perspectives, but just one. And one that is focused. And one that is of guidance and of transformation. And this is of higher knowledge. This is of clear thinking. And ultimately, this is where we would like to be, so we don't have these outside distractions. And I also feel with the tarot, if you're looking at a particular deck and you're doing dream work, maybe before going to bed, if you're doing dream analysis and whatnot, look throughout your deck, major and minor arcana, the court cards, and pull out cards. This is another way that you can start healing and start self-directing your dreams, is start pulling cards that you connect with. Just like the cards I pulled out here. Pull out the cards, write down the cards that you pulled before you go to sleep, and maybe put a few words underneath what this card means to you. It can be negative or positive. Not too many cards, because when you go to sleep, you don't want to do a full reading or anything, because that's processing a lot of information. And spiritually, it could be a little bit too much. So just do a few cards. And also keep in mind this, what element it is. If you're playing cards that are more of earth, you want to. The reason why you're doing this is you want to bring those influences, this elemental influences of stability or action. If things are stagnant, you want fiery action. Emotions, you want to get clarity on emotions, or you want to get some answers. Air, swords, you want to communicate clearly. And communication again could be from the spirit, from the heart, and from the mind. How do we want to clearly communicate? So look at all these cards that you pulled. Again, under each card, and look at these cards carefully. Do a meditation with them. And the words that you wrote down for each of those cards, take them in psychically. We're in a sense, we're sort of self-programming our mind. And this is a calm way to actually ease into sleep. And look at the energy of the card, take it in. Look at the word that you wrote down, take it in. The colors, any detail of that card or cards that you have. Take it in. And breathe it in, breathe it out. Feel that you've traveled inside that card and that you've explored all the nuances. And this may take time. And see what dreams happen. See if you pull a major arcana, see if that image comes into your dream, or the characteristic of that particular archetype or card. And see if that can give you guidance, influence to that particular dream that you're having. It could be a brand new dream. And dreams are forms of release, and they are forms of self-therapy and understanding aspects of who we are. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning, if there are things going on that are very deep-seated and dealing with depression, split personalities, anything of that nature, psychosis of that self, you need to see professional help, because quite possibly, if you're trying to work through that, I feel the tarot can only help to a certain level. And when you have something that's more on the physical side of mental illness, the cards will only help you to a certain point. And when you're seeing that there's no way of, no means of that change in how you're feeling and whatnot, if things are getting worse, this is beyond your control. And so that's where outside help comes in handy. So I want to say, take with a grain of salt if you do deal with certain mental issues or whatnot. These cards can be of help, but long-term wise, there's always the need for external help. And maybe these two can work hand in hand. But don't rely entirely on tarot, divination, oracle. These are exercises to help at a certain level. And they will only go to a certain, like I said, to a certain level, to a certain point. Anything further is beyond the tools of spiritual guidance. Once you heal, you feel like you've gotten to a point where you've dealt with any emotional, mental issues that were just so overbearing, maybe return to the tarot and do a reading and see how things are. That's why it's important to journal when you can. Cards, and just if certain cards come back again and again, keep that, because those are obviously signs. So in closing, the tarot is a wonderful source to open up aspects of who we are, and to reflect on things that we may not be aware of. And so with our dreams, we take that to another level. And so by analyzing the environment, the energy of our dreams, and doing a reading before, if you want to start programming in a sense, how you want to start working through your dreams, you could do that, or afterwards. You do both. Do a reading before you have your dream, do a reading afterwards. Write down. It's work. But in time, as I mentioned, if you start seeing a pattern, you probably start facing these fears, these issues, these weaknesses, or these strengths, and how to take a hold of them and utilizing this for personal betterment. This is all what spiritual divination and guidance and all the tools that are out there. We're trying to find balance. Answers are part of it, but it's balance, and that's entirely up to us individually, how we take the information. So that's my journey here with the swords. Communicating in different ways. Again, I have two different decks here. The Dreamkeepers Tarot, we were seeing very surreal, subconscious, ethereal landscapes. Images. How we see ourselves dismembered. Or parts of ourselves that are transparent. Partially submerged. How do our thoughts and our mind work in those environments while in the dream? And then, of course, here with the dreams of Gaia, we're looking more at the universal self and healing ourselves. We have to do the work. Our dreams are part of that. The dreams are the environment for us. We see what's going on. There's another card that's wonderful. We see what's going on, and now the work begins to understand what that is, what the issue is, and to keep track of it. So that wraps up the fourth element in the series of doing dream work and self-analysis through the tarot, working specifically with the elements. It may be hard for some people to kind of understand this, but if you've worked with the tarot and you've done elemental work and you're familiar with the tools that represent all these different suits, you can find how those aspects can work. define the direction of how our mind is, how we're thinking, our psyche, and how our heart is. We're trying to connect these two different aspects. We're dreaming, but our dreams, are they coming more from the heart? Are they, all action, not really putting a lot of clear perspective into things? Is the ground unstable? Is it just a situation that doesn't seem to have any balance? All those aspects play an influence. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your patience and listening through this. There's so many different takeaways from this, but this is my interpretation and ways to work through the dream realm and explore that. So very important. Journal. Try and do a very quick read, a few cards before you go to sleep. You have your dream and then write down afterwards, and then do a reading to coincide with what you did before, the reading that you did before doing your work for going to sleep. Okay. Any questions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm here to answer any questions. I like to learn from other people, exchange information. I have my website. You can reach me there. And I will be continually to produce videos to share insight with my practice, the tarot, and the metaphysical influences that I have. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you again. We will see you soon.